so I'm making caramelized onions, and I thought I would show you how to do it because I find that people often don't truly caramelize their onions. When they say they're making caramelized onions, they just brown them. It's not the same. And nothing makes me more sad when I go to a restaurant and I order something with caramelized onions and it's just browned, or they're like barely caramelized, they're super, super light. It's just not the same. But when I was a private chef, my boss was obsessed with caramelized onions. They wanted them on everything. And so I would make a giant batch every week with like 20 onions. And the day that I made those, it would literally go all day long while I was cooking other things. Now that was a much bigger batch than this. And the more surface area you have for your onions, the better. So if you are doing really big batch, you can do like multiple pans, but I would usually have other things going on the stove, so I couldn't do that. But I'm gonna show you how they should look, and I'll let you know how long it takes. I'm doing 4 really big Vidalia onions. So I decided to start the onions in 2 pans to give me a little more surface area until they start to cook down a little bit. And I add a little bit of butter into each, about a tablespoon each, or you can use some oil, and then a couple big pinches of salt in each to help bring out those natural liquids. I also like to start them on about medium to medium high heat just until they start to soften, and then I turn it down to a low heat and let them slowly cook. You do want to cook them low and slow because that is what is going to bring out the natural sugars in the onion and is going to actually caramelize them rather than just browning them. Starting to get a little bit of color. This is nowhere near done though. So I'm adding a little bit of water here to deglaze the pan, stirring that to get all of the brown bits off the pan, and then I will let this continue cooking on low heat. I feel like this is where people often stop. Like, this is what I get a lot of times when I order something with caramelized onions. And while, yes, this is slightly caramelized, this is not really what you're looking for most of the time. This needs to be much darker because it's going to keep getting much sweeter as it darkens. Okay, we are about an hour in, and this is about the color that I find is the first point at which I would say it's acceptable. It's starting to get pretty sweet, and there's nice color and nice flavor. I still personally like them to be much darker than this, and I think the extra time is worth it. I'm going to let these go for at least another 30 minutes, maybe even closer to another hour. All right, these are my final caramelized onions. This took about an hour and 45 minutes for 4 large Vidalia onions. They are not burnt. These are perfectly sweet and tons of flavor. We're going to serve these on sliders for the Super Bowl, and they basically just melt down into this sort of like a jam, and it's so sweet and so delicious. Give it a try.